The invitation to Sophie's bridal shower arrived on cream-colored cardstock, embossed with gold lettering that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. My name was printed in elegant script alongside 50 other guests invited to celebrate Sophie Montgomery's journey to becoming Mrs. Alexander Ashford Bennett at the exclusive Meadowbrook Country Club. When I called to RSVP, my mother's voice carried that particular edge of embarrassment she'd perfected over the years. "About that, Charlotte," she said. "We need to discuss the arrangements." I waited, already knowing what was coming. The Ashford Bennetts have very specific expectations. Alexander's mother Vivian has planned everything, and she suggested that seating be limited to coupled guests and immediate family members with established social standing. "I'm immediate family," I said flatly. "Yes, but you're single. And Vivian feels that having unattached women at the shower might send the wrong message about Sophie's social circle." At 31, I'd grown accustomed to my family's assessment of my worth being tied to my relationship status. But this was new territory even for them. "So I'm invited but not given a seat? You can absolutely attend. Just stand near the refreshment table? Help with the gift display. You're so organized, Charlotte. You'd be wonderful coordinating behind the scenes." Behind the scenes. Invisible. Convenient when needed, dismissible when not. "I understand," I said, and I did. My sister was marrying into the Ashford Bennett family. Old money, political connections, the kind of bloodline that appeared in history books, and had decided my single status was an embarrassment to be managed. What Mom didn't understand was that I'd spent 8 years building something that made the Ashford Bennett's social standing look quaint. She just never bothered to ask. "This wedding is so important for Sophie's future," Mom continued. "The Ashford Bennetts have connections everywhere. Alexander's uncle is a senator, and Vivian sits on half a dozen charity boards. We can't afford any complications." Complications. That's what I'd become. I'd attended exactly one Ashford Bennett event, Sophie's engagement party at Meadowbrook, where Vivian had surveyed me like expired milk. "And you do what, dear?" she'd asked, diamond earrings catching the light. "I work in international diplomatic protocol." "Oh. How niche. I suppose someone has to do those administrative things." She turned away, already dismissing me. Sophie had laughed. "Charlie's always been the practical one. Good with details and schedules. Not the social butterfly type, but useful. Useful. Like office equipment." I'd excused myself to take a call. A number with a country code that made Vivian's senator brother-in-law look provincial. I discussed security protocols for an upcoming state visit with someone whose title included the word royal. That was 6 months ago. Since then, I'd been systematically excluded from wedding planning, my presence tolerated only when my organizational skills could be exploited. The bridal shower was simply the latest iteration. What they didn't expect was that I'd been preparing for this moment since Sophie's engagement. The morning of the shower, I dressed in a pale blue silk dress. Elegant but understated, nothing that would draw attention. My phone, encrypted with security protocols that would make the country club's IT department weep, sat in my clutch. I arrived at Meadowbrook on time, watching valets park luxury cars and women in designer outfits air-kiss through the entrance. The shower was in the garden room, a space of floor-to-ceiling windows and crystal chandeliers that cost more to rent than most monthly salaries. Inside, round tables draped in ivory linens filled the room, each with elaborate floral centerpieces and place cards in elegant calligraphy. I scanned the tables for my name. It wasn't there. Every other guest had a designated seat. Sophie's sorority sisters, Alexander's cousins, Vivian's society friends, Mom's bridge club. Even distant relatives I'd met once had place cards. Mine had been removed entirely. "Charlotte." Mom appeared, her smile strained. "You made it. Why don't you position yourself near the gift table? Help guests find where to place presents." "There's no place card for me." "Well, Vivian felt that since you'd be helping coordinate, you wouldn't need a formal seat. You understand." Before I could respond, Sophie appeared in pink chiffon, hair in perfect waves, makeup flawless. She looked me over critically. "Oh, Charlie, you came. Mom told you about the gifts, right?" Vivian was very specific. Grouped by category, cards visible. "Can you handle that?" "Of course." "Perfect. And maybe stay near the back during games? We have such a beautiful crowd today and the photographer is capturing everything. You know how it is." She air-kissed near my cheek and floated away to greet squealing friends. I walked to the gift table, positioned in an alcove that kept me useful but hidden. From there I could see everything. The tables with their place cards, the champagne fountain, the museum-worthy dessert display. My phone vibrated with the pattern I'd been expecting. Security detail ETA 15 minutes. Confirm location. I typed a response, then called the number I'd been given 3 weeks ago. Ms. Harrison, everything is in place. Her Royal Highness will arrive shortly. Thank you, Davies. I'll coordinate with club security. I caught the eye of Peterson, the security director I'd briefed yesterday. He nodded and spoke into his radio. The shower began. Vivian held court at the head table in a designer suit worth more than my car. The gift opening started. Crystal from Tiffany's, Italian linens, gallery paintings. Each present elicited gasps and applause. I stood arranging boxes according to Vivian's specifications, watching my family celebrate Sophie's transformation into an Ashford Bennett. Then I saw them through the windows. 4 black SUVs pulled up, diplomatic plates gleaming. The vehicles moved with military precision, making valets step back uncertainly. Conversation faltered. Guests noticed the unusual activity. Vivian's eyebrows drew together. What on earth? The Royal Guard stepped out. 6 officers in the distinctive dress uniform of the British Royal Protection Command, their bearing unmistakable. Moving with coordinated efficiency that spoke of protecting the world's most famous family. Behind them, Princess Catherine, second in line to the British throne, stepped from the center vehicle. The garden room erupted. Women stood, champagne forgotten, hands flying to mouths. Vivian's face cycled through confusion, shock, panic. Sophie grabbed Alexander's arm, eyes wide. Peterson appeared at the entrance, flanked by the lead Royal Guard officer. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption. We have a very special guest who has requested to see Charlotte Harrison. Every head swiveled toward the gift table. Whispers exploded. Charlotte? The sister? Why would? Is that really? I walked through the parting crowd, feeling hundreds of eyes tracking me. The officer nodded respectfully. Ms. Harrison, Her Royal Highness is ready. I followed them outside, where Princess Catherine waited with composed elegance. She smiled, extending her hand. Charlotte, thank you for making time. I know this is your sister's celebration. Your Highness. I shook her hand, maintaining the protocol I'd learned through years of coordinating these exact meetings. Thank you for coming. After everything you've done facilitating the Commonwealth diplomatic initiatives, this is the least I can do. She glanced toward the garden room where faces pressed against windows. Shall we? We entered together, the Royal Guard maintaining their perimeter. The garden room fell silent. Women froze, phones already out, capturing this impossible moment. Ladies and gentlemen. Princess Catherine's voice carried the authority of someone who'd addressed parliaments. I apologize for interrupting this lovely celebration, but I have urgent business with Ms. Harrison. He turned to me. Charlotte, I wanted to personally thank you for your exceptional work coordinating security protocols for last month's Commonwealth Summit. Your expertise in international diplomatic protocol prevented what could have been a significant security incident. The room was so quiet I could hear champagne glasses trembling. Furthermore, I'm pleased to inform you that Her Majesty the Queen has approved your appointment as Special Diplomatic Liaison to the Commonwealth Office. Your work will involve coordinating security and protocol for all major international diplomatic events involving the Crown. She extended a leather folder bearing the royal seal. This is your official appointment letter, along with security clearances that make you one of the highest credentialed diplomatic officials in international protocol. I accepted it, hands steady. Thank you, Your Highness. I'm honored. The honor is ours. Her gaze swept the room, landing on Sophie, Vivian, then Mom. I understand this is your sister's bridal shower. Please accept my congratulations to the bride. I'm sure it will be a beautiful wedding. He turned back to me. I'll have my office coordinate with you next week regarding your first assignment. We're hosting a state dinner for Commonwealth heads of state, and your expertise will be invaluable. I'll be ready, Your Highness. She departed efficiently, the Royal Guard escorting her to the motorcade while club members stood frozen in the parking lot, phones out, capturing photos of the royal visit. The garden room remained suspended in shocked silence even after the motorcade left. Then chaos erupted. That's the bride's sister? She works with the royal family? Commonwealth diplomatic liaison? Higher clearance than most government officials. I returned to the gift table, royal folder in hand, watching the carefully orchestrated shower dissolve. Guests abandoned seats to cluster around me, asking questions, requesting introductions, treating me with deference reserved for visiting dignitaries. Vivian stood at the head table, her society connections suddenly provincial. The senator uncle she'd mentioned? He answered to officials I briefed regularly. Her charity boards. I coordinated events with their funders. One of her society friends, Barbara, who'd ignored me earlier, pushed forward. Miss Harrison, I had no idea you worked in such an important capacity. I'm on the International Women's Foundation board. Perhaps you could speak at our gala. Another woman grabbed my arm. My husband is a state representative. I'm sure he'd love to discuss your Commonwealth work. They surrounded me, these women who'd watched me excluded without a word, now desperate to associate themselves with royal recognition. Sophie pushed through the crowd, composure cracking. Charlotte, why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? About everything. The royal family. The diplomatic work. The Commonwealth position. I looked at my sister in her designer dress, surrounded by the perfect shower she'd crafted while excluding me from even a chair. You never asked what I actually did. You just decided it wasn't important enough to give me a seat. But you could have said something. Could have what? Insisted on being included? Demanded a place card. I shook my head. You made your choices, Sophie. You decided the Ashford Bennet's approval was more important than your sister. Her eyes filled with tears, ruining mascara. Everyone's talking about you. The whole shower is ruined. The shower isn't ruined. It's just not about you anymore. Mom appeared, face pale beneath makeup. Charlotte, we didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. We're your family. Family gives each other chairs, Mom. Family doesn't erase each other from place cards to impress strangers. I gathered my things. You chose appearances over me. Vivian approached, earlier dismissiveness replaced by brittle smile. Miss Harrison, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Of course you were meant to have a seat. There was no mix-up, Mrs. Ashford Bennet. You told my mother that single people without established social standing shouldn't have formal seating. You were very clear. Her smile froze. Around us, guests quieted again, phones recording everything for social media. I'm sure I never. You did. My mother agreed. My sister went along with it because impressing your family was more important than including hers. I looked at each of them. You all made your priorities clear. I walked out past tables with place cards that hadn't included mine, past the gift display I'd been expected to manage, to the parking lot where my modest sedan sat among luxury vehicles. The royal appointment folder rested on my passenger seat as I drove away. Behind me, guests still clustered in the parking lot, posting about the royal visit that had transformed Sophie's shower. My phone rang. An international number. Ms. Harrison, this is Ambassador Chen from the United Nations Protocol Office. Princess Catherine mentioned you might consult on security arrangements for the upcoming General Assembly session. I'd be honored, Ambassador. Send the details. That evening, messages flooded in. Sophie apologizing through tears. Mom trying to explain. Even Vivian suggesting we start fresh, with proper introductions to her society connections. I deleted them all. Sophie had her bridal shower, her Ashford Bennet connections, her carefully curated social circle already gossiping about what happened. And I had an appointment from the British Crown, earned through work that actually mattered, presented by someone who understood the difference between real achievement and performative status. The single sister, excluded from seating, validated by royalty. They'd removed my name from place cards, thinking I wasn't important enough for a chair. They never asked where I sat when I wasn't at their parties. The answer would have terrified them. I walked into my apartment and set the royal folder on my desk, next to the framed photo from the Commonwealth Summit where I stood beside 5 heads of state. The photo my family had never asked about. My phone buzzed with a message from Davies, Princess Catherine's private secretary. Her Royal Highness was impressed with your composure today. She wanted you to know the state dinner will include representatives from 12 nations. Your security protocols will be essential. Also, she apologizes if the timing caused family awkwardness. I smiled, typing back. Tell Her Highness the timing was perfect. As it was. For 8 years I'd built something real while my family chased appearances. While Sophie planned table settings, I'd coordinated international summits. While Vivian name-dropped her senator relative, I'd briefed the people who shaped policy. The single sister without a chair had more influence than everyone in that garden room combined. They just hadn't bothered to look until royalty forced them to see.